This is one of the places where I'm really grateful for having some more training in biblical studies and theology. Not that you require that, but I just never knew the meaning of those words in Hebrew until I started doing my own seminary studies. And to find out that the word Adam comes from the Hebrew word Adam, and the Hebrew word Adam comes from Adamah, which means the earth. So that Adam, in the biblical sense, literally means earth creature. It's not a proper name so much as the first being created from the earth, where God breathes God's breath into and animates it. So we, in our very, very being, are connected deeply to the earth. And the word Adamah means both earth, but it also means soil, as in farmland, because the Hebrew people were really could not take for granted that they would have good soil. They lived in a harsh environment where being able to till the soil was a gift of God, but was also a lot of work. And so our very identity is those who are created from the earth, created from the soil, and that's what it means to be a human person, a human being. And of course, our word human is connected to the word humus, or soil, in the same way. And then Eve means life. I mean, that as we're connected to the earth, we bring out life, and as Adam and Eve, as earth creature and life are united, we create the life that passes on there. And of course, the word Eden means delight. So God puts the first human beings in a garden that means delight there, and asks us to serve and till that soil. The word to till the soil, to serve the soil, the same word in Hebrew. And so it's a vision that obviously we don't always live up to, but it's a vision that animates who we are, that we're meant to be in community, we're meant to be in relationship, we're meant to be on this earth, as part of this earth, to till and care for the earth, in that process to pass on the gift of life to others, both other human beings, through marriage, through being with another partner, but also through maintaining and all the diversity of life as part of this garden of delight. So it's this really wonderful, rich image that opens up the Bible, and the rest of the biblical story presumes that image, the goodness of creation, the delight in life, the delight we find in each other as earth creatures, and passing on the gift of life. So I can't imagine a more wonderful way to start the Bible. We know that the good news only lasts a couple chapters. By chapter 3 of the Bible, we already have pain and sorrow and suffering and sin and temptation in there. And so that's part of the story as well, that we all are going to live with those after effects of hardship and pain. But the fundamental framing is of God's delight in the goodness of creation, and that we're an integral part of that.
God came down to save people. It's not like He made a covenant with animals.
Oh, you're wrong. You got to go back and read the Bible. Go back to read Genesis chapters 7 to 9, the story of Noah's Ark. One of the most important stories in the Bible, because it's one of the tragic things about that story is because of human sin, God destroys much of life on the planet, but accounts for life to continue. So Noah is instructed to take one pair of every species on the planet. It's the first story we have in ancient literature of the call to protect biodiversity, that all of life is valuable and important. But the amazing thing that comes out of that story is God reestablishes a covenant, only this time it's a covenant with all of life. And we have this beautiful image of the rainbow as God's reminder that God has established a covenant not just with human beings, but with all of life. So you move from Genesis 1, where God repeats over and over again, before human beings even show up on the planet, God creates the fishes of the sea and the birds of the air and the plants and the animals and all of life. And every time God takes delight in that creation and says, it is good, it is good. So we know that creation is good, quite apart from whether or not human beings are part of it. And yet human beings are a part of it, and God thinks that that's a part that's very good. But God establishes a covenant, a saving relationship with all of life, with all the planet, and promises to be there to promulgate it, to keep it lively and healthy. So that means humans have a tremendous responsibility. Our covenant with God takes place within this broader covenant of God's covenant with all of life. So we have a responsibility that we love what God loves, that we make sure that what God has put on this planet to thrive. And remember, the very first command to be fruitful and multiply doesn't go to human beings, it goes to the other forms of life. So God created a planet that wants to be full of all sorts of life, and we've got to be a part of that. Our responsibility, and this goes back to the compassion dominion, is to make sure that God's covenant with all of life includes our responsibility to protect all of life as well. That's hippie mumbo jumbo. I apologize. It goes back to the Bible.
What translation is that, Dan?
It's the original version that you can find it in virtually any translation. You just got to read.
Darn it.